Israeli military struck several of Iran's oil sites on Saturday, which led to balls of fire, toxic smoke, and acid rain in Tehran and its neighboring city of Karaj. Now, Tehran is a city of 10 million lives. And now those lives are in jeopardy as this acid rain falls on them. Cenk, does this look like liberation to you?
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about the damage that it not only did to Tehran. I mean, that dark cloud is so symbolic of what Israel has done to the Middle East and the world. But we're also gonna talk about the economic damage that it has done here at home, which is a double whammy. And so, but finally, of course, what Anna's referring to. And so keep that in mind as we're telling you the whole story. This is from the people who claimed, oh, we're doing this because we want to help the Iranian people out of the goodness of our hearts.
Yeah, the Persian diaspora that's comfortably living in Beverly Hills, California, calling for this. I just want to be very clear, despite their threats against me, you're among the worst people on the planet. Okay, as you live in your mansions in Beverly Hills, California, and sit there and enjoy the Iranian people dealing with this terror that you called for, that you cheerled for. You're among the worst people on the planet. But anyway, let me continue. So Tehran's main oil refinery is next to one of the storage facilities, oil storage facilities in the city's southern Sahar Ray district, which was attacked, and that's according to state media. Also, the Saharan oil depot in northwestern Tehran, which Israel targeted last June, was struck yet again. And these attacks came after Israel struck Iran's busiest airport in Mehrabad. Now, Netanyahu on Saturday said that the US-Israeli bombing campaign in Iran would continue unabated and that the moment of truth was nearing for Iranians to overthrow their government. He advocated the overthrow of the regime as Israeli TV reported that Israel was optimistic about such an outcome. I think that they're bluffing because I don't see where the optimism would come from. There's absolutely no sign of any type of civil war, any type of battle within the Iranian population or community. And it seems like the IRCG was really prepared for a day like today. Now, Netanyahu also said that Israel has an organized plan with many surprises for the next phases of the war with Iran to destabilize the regime to enable change. Now, unclear what his big surprise is. One thing that I do know is that there have been some rumors that the Israelis have considered using tactical nukes against Iran. So when we have a conversation about irrational foreign actors who have nuclear capabilities, I think Israel should be at the top of that list. Now, Iran's Ministry of Oil said in a statement that multiple oil storage depots in the provinces of Tehran and Al-Borz has been targeted. Israel has actually taken responsibility for this. They're not trying to hide it at all. They claim that the oil storage depots were bombed because they were supposedly being used by Iran's armed forces. So it's just, a repeat of what we saw in Gaza. We're bombing everything because of Hamas, and in this case, we're bombing everything, including oil infrastructure, which is devastating to the global oil markets because of the military in Iran. Amir, a businessman who had taken his wife and 2 children to the countryside from Tehran for safety, says that it's getting to the point where we feel no place is safe, and even the roads leading in and out of the city are dangerous because targets around them are attacked. Wow, sounds like liberation to me. Shireen, a 36-year-old dentist, told the New York Times that she and her family decided to remain in Tehran, but they are very scared. In fact, she says, quote, "I want the war to end immediately." I'm surprised that the New York Times printed that, but let me continue. The New York Times also laughably claimed that the US and Israel's attacks on Iran's oil facilities is unusual, super unusual, given how careful they've been when it comes to bombing certain, facilities and civilian sites. This is an actual excerpt from their piece. Until this weekend, the US-Israeli bombing campaign had been largely focused on ravaging Iran's leadership and security services and police stations, while also trying to eliminate its ability to produce and launch missiles and prevent Tehran from being able to produce nuclear weapons. Now, they forget that their own publication just confirmed that the United States was responsible for bombing that elementary school, killing 175 people, most of whom were little girls. Furthermore, let's take a look at this headline. This is from the BBC, something we reported on last week. Iranian schools, hospital, and landmarks among civilian sites hit during US-Israeli strikes. 10 hospitals have been struck by US and Israeli strikes. So the idea that these types of structures are not being targeted is laughable, to say the least. Later in the piece, though, the New York Times admits that Iranian media and residents have reported widespread destruction to residential homes, shops, roads, water pipes, and several hospitals and schools located near target sites. Now, Barak Ravid, a former member of Israeli intelligence and the IDF, published his usual slop to make us think that the US is dismayed that the Israelis had targeted Iranian oil depots. Trump is, Netanyahu's bitch, if you ask me. So I don't believe he's dismayed at all. He will do as he's told. Plus, both the United States and Israel confirmed that the US was notified that the strikes were going to take place before they took place. So I don't believe for a second that Trump is dismayed about anything. Trump will do as he's told by the Israelis. But a US official said that the US military was surprised by how wide-ranging they were, meaning the Israeli strikes on Iran's oil infrastructure. We don't think it was a good idea, a senior US official said. An Israeli official said the US message to Israel was WTF. So you get the point.
You know the hardest part of starting TYT? It wasn't being on camera. I'm pretty sexy, so that was easy. And it wasn't trying to figure out a new thing called YouTube, that was fun. It was realizing I had to wear every single hat. Writer, producer, marketing department, it was overwhelming. I felt like I was stranded on an island. When you're starting a business, that to-do list can overrun your life. You need a partner, not just any partner, you need Shopify. That's who we chose. Think about it, you need a beautiful online store? Boom, Shopify's got hundreds of ready-to-use templates that match your brand style. You need to find customers? They make it easy to run email and social media campaigns wherever people are scrolling. And what about managing inventory, processing returns, and international shipping? Shopify is your commerce expert. They handle the world-class logistics so you don't have to. Everything from payments to analytics is in one place. No more jumping between platforms. It simplifies your life so you can focus on what you actually started the business to do. Start your business today with the industry's best business partner, Shopify, and start hearing. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/TYT. Go to shopify.com/TYT. That's shopify.com/TYT.
Now, striking Iran's fuel infrastructure absolutely does backfire. In fact, you see Iranians rallying to support the regime. Usually when foreign actors come in and attack your country, that tends to happen. And in fact, here's a video of a massive crowd of Iranians who gathered to celebrate the country's new Ayatollah, new leader, Mojtaba Khamenei. Take a look. Good job, America. Cenk, back to you.
Yeah. So first, I want to note a couple things that Anna mentioned. So there's this like shock and chagrin that Israel is not listening to us. We told them not to bomb the oil facilities, but they bombed them anyway. Of course, why are you shocked by that? Israel never listens to us, and Israel always lies. But every time New York Times and all of them are like, oh, wow, what a shocking development. Our beloved Israel, for the first time ever, has done something slightly wrong. Come on, man. And then Bill Maher this weekend complaining about, the New York Times is so against Israel.
Right.
You know why? Because he's like, oh my God. Like normally, he doesn't say this, of course, but it's between the lines. They just print exactly what the Israelis have asked for in propaganda, but one or two lines don't match up this time. I have both scripts. Why aren't they doing 200% Israeli propaganda? Okay, so speaking of propaganda, look at how they wrote it, right? In the quotes that Anna read to you earlier. When it's us or Israel saying something, New York Times used this language. The US-Israeli bombing campaign had been largely focused on, et cetera, et cetera. So they don't say, could have been, US says, Israel says, they say that is what it was, okay? When they go to reports of that not being true, and in fact, bombing schools, hospitals, et cetera, they instead use the language of Iranian media and residents have reported, right? Like, I mean, the Iranians have reported. Well, it's your job to confirm either way, isn't it? And so instead of confirming, they write it as if the Israelis and the Americans are definitely telling the truth, and these Iranians say that they were just murdered, whatever, right? And that's why Mar's upset. Don't say that. Don't even report what the Iranians say. They're subhuman. They're not Israelis, right? So that's what they get animated by. So I wanted to read a couple of members' quotes because they're going to relate to what I'm going to say next. Okay, so Eddie Jameson is a member on YouTube. You could hit the join button below, become part of the show this way. And he said, I'm struggling with going about my everyday life with my tax dollars are being used to bomb critical infrastructure and shower millions of people in oil contaminated rain, making land uninhabitable. So that goes to the point that Anna made there, and I want to double down on. And you saw that giant crowd, right, in the square. And so we were told by the liars, not just in Israel first, not just by our disgusting politicians who serve the donor class, but also by the great majority of our media. Israel says this is for the Iranian people. And you know what? We're gonna be greeted as liberators. The minute we attack, just like in Iraq, the Iranian people are cheering. You remember all those stories? Oh my God, they're so happy the Ayatollah is dead. In fact, Bill Maher, his chief actual literal example that he used was, I have read that 90% of Iranians were thrilled that Ayatollah was killed, but that's not what the New York Times is reporting. Can you believe how wrong they are? Bill, does that look like 90% were celebrating that the Ayatollah got killed? No, you moron. When you drop bombs on people's heads, they do not root for you. They rally around the flag. You'd have to have like, I don't even want to besmirch children by saying a childlike innocence, because there is no innocence there. He's lying all the time to help Israel, right? So no, they didn't rally around America and Israel because we started killing their children. I mean, we have to explain this to the simpletons that I have to get through so many debates where I have to argue, no, Israel's not doing this for the benefit of the Iranian people. Now, is Piers Morgan and everyone that we've ever been on these shows, are they gonna go, obviously the Israelis were lying, because look at how much damage they did to Iran, Tehran, their civilians. They did it on purpose. They did it to poison them. And now everyone is waking up in Tehran the next day and everything is covered in black. Because once the rain falls, you saw CNN actually did a good job, credit where credit is due. And their reporter there was showing you the cars, the buildings all draped in black from the soot, right? So Tehran, they're waking up furious with Israel and America. They're not furious with the Shah, with the Ayatollah anymore. Okay, we ruined that. If you wanted actual regime change that was gonna lead to democracy in Iran, this was deeply counterproductive. One more member, sorry, this is a super chat. Elliot ZP said, American here, born and raised in Iran. Against this war with every fiber, but I know Iran and I'm worried about Mujtaba. He was ruthless before, he lost all his family, now gotta help Iranians. So that goes to the last point I was gonna make. So, the guy who took over, Khomeini's son now, he lost his dad, which was Khomeini, okay? He lost his mom.
His wife.
He lost his sister. He lost his wife. He lost his son. He lost a nephew, a niece, and a brother-in-law. And he got wounded in that same bombing. So he was already a hardliner, The morons in Israel and morons like Lindsey Graham and John Fetterman in both parties told us, oh, once we murder their leaders, we're gonna get leaders that will listen to Donald Trump unconditionally. We'll do everything that we order them to do. Instead, we now have a leader that is significantly worse in charge of the regime, much more brutal, much more radical, and now seething with hatred for Israel and America after we murdered most of his family. So never ever listen to warmongers, never listen to neocons, never listen to mainstream media, never listen to our scum politicians, and never ever make the mistake of believing in Israeli. This Israeli government is the most biggest liars in the world, and now the regime in Iran is worse, not better. The Iranian people are furious, and we've gotten ourselves into an intractable war, all because of Israel.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.